Hey there, welcome back to the Millennial Book Junkie. Today I'm going to share with you all the books that I bought towards the end of summer and all throughout fall. I went to a variety of bookstores after the summer ended, so somewhere between September and November, I went and I just got a lot of books. It wasn't all at once, so the pile you kind of see in front of you is quite large, but it wasn't all at once. Ain't nobody got that kind of money or time. But this was over the span of about 3 months, maybe 2. Every weekend, every other weekend or so, I like to go pick up a book. And I went to a couple new bookstores too, and I got books. So I really want to share with you what I got, all the thrillers that I got for fall of 2024. The first book that I got this fall was Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. I know he has another book out right now, but this was the book that I picked up a couple months ago and I read. If you haven't heard about it, or if you haven't heard what it's about, it is essentially about a young girl named Mallory who is just coming out of rehab, and she goes to babysit a young boy who apparently has a little bit of, let's say, demonic talent. No, I'm just kidding. Essentially, he likes to draw pictures of a woman being dragged into a hole outside, or a grave, or whatever you want to call it. And she's like, these are rather strange. This book actually comes with those drawings on the inside, which is kind of cool. But yeah, it's essentially about why is this little boy drawing these really crazy evil pictures? And obviously we find out. I really liked this book, and it was a really great read, really fun, really scary to read at night. But yeah, this is one of the books I bought this fall. The next book I bought this fall I'm really excited about. It's called Theme Music by T. Marie Vandelay. On the front it says it's the scariest book since The Haunting of Hill House. And honestly, I was sold just by the cover. This is one of the books that I found online, and then when I was in a bookstore I was like, if they have it I'm gonna buy it, and I bought it. This book is about a young girl whose entire family gets butchered when she's 1 year old by her father, I believe, and then I think he kills himself, I'm not sure, but her entire family is killed when she's really young, and then as she gets older she wants to go back and reinvestigate the case. She seeks out a detective, and also the house that she grew up in goes for sale. So she kind of wants to buy it and investigate the case of her family being murdered. I have not read this one. It really gets me very excited though, because the premise sounds really, really good. So I am excited to read Theme Music by T. Marie Vandelay. The next book that I bought was called The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and this is my first Riley Sager novel ever. I have not read it. I am very excited. This one also has to do with a massacre in 1929. An entire family gets murdered at a cliffside mansion, and Lenora, one of the family members, is the only surviving member. And then you kind of fast forward in the book to, I think it's like the 1980s, and then a caretaker comes and takes care of Lenora, who is now in her 70s, and she can't talk because she's had a series of strokes, but this caretaker helps her write down like what happened back in the 1920s when her entire family was murdered. I'm sensing a theme here with the books that I'm choosing. So I guess towards the end of the story, Lenora is trying to tell her story to this caretaker, and I think they're uncovering some secrets about the massacre Lenora's family in the very beginning. So we'll see what happens. This sounds really good. I know a lot of people have read Riley Sager. I have never read any Riley Sager, and I have been like hearing about him and all his books, and I want to read all of them. This is just the first one that I've kind of like finally had the chance to buy, and I'm like really excited about it. I cannot wait to read it. So the next book that I got this fall was called The Girl Who Would Speak for the Dead by Paul Elwork. I got this at a Dark Delicacies bookstore here in Los Angeles, which is a horror bookstore. I really, really loved the bookstore. Unfortunately, did not really, really love this book though. It's about these two twins who try to scare people into thinking that they can talk to the dead. And one of the twins, the girl, Emily, she can make a sound with her ankle that makes it sound like there's a sound coming from somewhere in the room, and she can do it without actually moving her ankle. So it's kind of freaky, and then they basically convince the children and eventually the adults in their neighborhood that they can talk to dead people. Of course, this spirals out of control, and yeah, people get hurt, all that fun stuff. The idea sounded really good. I just didn't really, I don't know, this book didn't connect with me for some reason. It just was too, I don't know, I just felt like nothing really happened, even though it was good writing. So anyway, this is one of the books I got from the Dark Delicacies bookstore, and yeah. The next book I bought was at Barnes & Noble. It's called Heads Will Roll. This one I just bought recently by Josh Winning. Apparently it is about a sitcom star named Willow who gets drunk and falls into a pool and tweets something, I think, that everyone is like, what are you talking about? So she has to go to this camp to kind of like get some time away, some private time, and it's called Camp Castaway. And she goes, and I think there's other movie stars or famous people there where they can kind of go get away from society for a while. They have no phones, no real names, nothing like that. So she kind of goes there to recover maybe her reputation, I'm not sure, until someone dies, and people start dying all over the place at this camp. And she also gets a mutilated doll with the head cut off. So I think they're trying to figure out who's killing all these people. It sounds really fun. I don't know if you're also noticing a theme with the axes on the cover of the book. I find that very endearing, and it is what drew me to this book. But I have heard people talk about this book, and I'm really, really excited to get into it. The next book I bought this fall was Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. I did read this one already. I got this one maybe a month or so ago. I was really excited because the front is a VHS tape, which I really like, being from millennial culture. This book is about 3 siblings whose mom dies, and then they go back to the house to try and clean up the house so they can sell it and obviously divide up any inheritance that they received. And they end up watching a video that their mom recorded back in the 80s or early 90s, and unfortunately it shows that they were responsible, like their dad was responsible for a murder. So it's a little creepy. I unfortunately didn't really love this book, but I love the idea, and I know a lot of people have been talking about this book. I need to read more Geneva Rose, and I am glad that I picked it up. The next book that I got for fall is called Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert. And this is a book of the month book, probably from a month or two ago. I finally renewed my subscription to Book of the Month. I had it a long time ago and I renewed it, and this was the book that I picked. And it looks so good because it's about a serial killer who dressed like a priest to prey on vulnerable people. And apparently he killed like 19 people. And then he was arrested because a detective eventually figured out who he was. And there was one survivor from the 19 people that he killed, so he comes back later. But essentially this serial killer who is dressed as a priest, I think his name is Father Silence. Yeah, Father Silence. He eventually is put to death. So he's put to death, but the day after he dies, the detective that made his original arrest dies. And then this serial killer called Outcast is basically killing people in the same way as Father Silence did. And now the detective's daughter is trying to figure out who this outcast person is. And then it starts all over again. So this one looks really good. Anything to do with a serial killer looks really good. I'm really excited to start this one. The next book that I got in fall was Dearest by Jackie Walters. This is another book of the month for the last couple months. Can't remember which month, but this one also looked really good. It's about a mom who just has a baby. She has a newborn, but she's on her own. Her husband is deployed, so she has to face motherhood alone for those first few weeks, and she's not getting a lot of sleep. She's obviously reeling from her delivery, and she is starting to see things that shouldn't be moving inside of her house, and weird stuff starts happening to her. She feels like she's losing her mind, and suddenly her mom returns to her house when she hasn't talked to her mom in a really long time, and then she's like is my mom responsible for all the weird stuff that's happening? Maybe she's bringing this evil into the house because things are starting to move on their own and things are getting weird. I don't know. I'm really, really excited though to read this one. I have no idea when I'm gonna read it, but I'm very, very excited to add it to my list of things to read in the coming months. The next book that I bought recently was Tana French's The Witch Elm. I have never read any Tana French, and I got this at Sudden Fiction, a small used bookstore in Colorado, and it's a very thick hardback book, but I had to buy it because it was reduced in price, and I'm really excited. It's about this guy named Toby who comes home one night to find two burglars in his house, and they basically beat him up so much to where he almost dies, is what I'm assuming. And then he goes to his old ancestral home to kind of recover from this, and he's caring for his dying uncle while there, but then he finds a skull in the backyard or under some tree, and then he has to kind of go back into his past and see why that skull is there. I don't know. It sounds really good, and it was reduced in price, and I feel like Tana French has a lot of books. She had a lot of books there in the thriller section, and I was like, I need to read this. So I'm excited. The next book I bought was also looks to be a book of the month book from back in May 2021, a while ago. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. I've never read any of her books, and this will be my first one. I got this also at Sudden Fiction, and this one is about a man named Owen who goes missing, and he sends a note to his wife Hannah, who he's only been married to for 1 year, and he says, basically, protect her. And he's talking about his daughter Bailey. Now obviously Hannah is not Bailey's mom, but her husband has just disappeared, and now she has to protect Bailey, who clearly doesn't want to have anything to do with her because she's her stepmom. But then I think a lot of weird stuff goes down, and it turns out that Owen maybe isn't the man that he said he was. So I'm excited to start this. I know that she's written another book recently, so I picked this one up because I was like, ooh, I know this one's really popular and I've been wanting to read it. So I'm looking forward to diving into this one. The next book that I bought, also from Sudden Fiction, I really bought like 7 books there, is The Hunting Party by Lisa Foley. I read Lisa Foley's The Guest List and I loved it, so I clearly had to pick this one up. It also has a really fun cover. It's like giving Christmas vibes, and it's almost Christmas, so I might read this one in December. But this one is about a reunion, I guess, a New Year's reunion in a remote Scottish wilderness, and someone dies. So that's all we really know. One of them is a murderer, so we gotta figure out which one it is. I'm really excited. I really liked The Guest List, so I'm curious to see what Lucy Foley has in store here. The next book that I bought this fall was by Lisa Scottolini. It is called What Happened to the Bennets, and I kid you not, this is one of the best books that I've read this year. If you have not read this book, you very much should. It is about a family who is driving at night on a dark stretch of road, and they end up getting carjacked. And then something really bad happens. I won't say, no spoilers, but eventually they have to go into this witness protection program. And then the witness protection program isn't really protecting them the way they should. So the husband decides to take matters into his own hands. It's kind of like a political thriller. It could also be an action movie starring Tom Cruise. It is so, so good. I really enjoyed it. This is one that I am very happy that I picked up this fall. The next book that I picked up this fall was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, a classic. It's been out for years. I'm sure everybody already knows of this book, but I also got this at Sudden Fiction because it was a book club pick in the book club that I am in last month. And it is about an icon from the 50s, a Hollywood icon who decides now that she's in her maybe 70s, 80s, she wants to tell her life story to a young reporter named Monique. And of course, Monique finds some haunting parallels between her life and this icon's life, and things start to get a little weird, and there's a lot of little twists and turns, and I really, really love this book. It's just a classic. I feel like everyone I've ever talked to loves this book. Very, very good to have in your collection. I really, really enjoyed it. The next book that I bought at Target a while ago. It is called Before We Were Innocent by Ella Berman. I heard another booktuber talk about this book and I had to pick it up. It is about 3 friends who go to Greece together for the summer, and then something happens to one of them. I think one of them dies. And then 10 years later, the other 2 best friends, you know, they were cleared of having anything to do with the 3rd best friend's murder, but one of them goes on to be a motivational speaker and the other one is just trying to like keep her life together and not try and be involved in anything other that's suspicious. And so later they reconnect because the motivational speaker friend wants a favor, she needs an alibi, and then, you know, they're kind of brought into probably something heinous again, something dramatic. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm really excited to read this one because I heard it was really good. So this one I will either read next month or in January, but this is one of the books that I got at Target this fall. The next book that I bought from Sudden Fiction is Sherry Lapina's The End of Her. I love Sherry Lapina. I love her books. I've read Everyone Here Is Lying and The Couple Next Door, and they were both just so easy to read, and I love how fast-paced they are. So this one is about a couple who is bringing up 2 colicky little girls, sounds like babies, and the husband, Patrick, apparently had a wife previously who died. So the main character, the wife, looks like her name is Stephanie. Stephanie one day meets this girl named Erica who is from Patrick's past, and Erica claims that his first wife, you know, didn't die under innocent purposes, didn't die a normal death. And so she maintains, Erica, that Patrick's first wife was murdered by Patrick. So now Stephanie is trying to figure out who her husband really is and did he really murder his first wife? I don't know. I can't wait to read this one. It looks really good. This one is a book I just bought the other day at Barnes & Noble. It is my first Harlan Coben. I was really excited to get it. It's called The Woods. Apparently it is going to be coming to Netflix, which the bookseller at Barnes & Noble was not super thrilled about for some reason. So I'm just gonna read the back of this one because I don't really know too much about it. It says, County Prosecutor Paul Copeland is still getting over the decades-old disappearance of his sister. 20 years ago, she walked into the woods with her boyfriend and neither of them were ever seen again. So he's right now struggling to raise his 6-year-old daughter while trying one of the biggest cases of his career, but evidence links him to a man who was viciously murdered, and possibly this man is the victim, is one of the victims who disappeared with his sister all those years ago. So I'm assuming he's trying to figure out what or who killed his sister. And I love a good like crime fiction, woman goes missing novel. So I'm really, really excited to dig into this one. I have never read anything by Harlan Coben, but I also did hear that he is writing a book with Reese Witherspoon. So that's exciting. So I'm really excited to dig into this one. The next book that I bought a few weeks ago is a classic that most thriller girlies will know called The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This one has been heralded by so many people as one of the greatest thrillers and super creepy from what I've heard, and I'm really excited to dig into this one. This one is about a woman who shoots her husband multiple times, maybe in the face, not really sure. Yes, 5 times in the face. And a psychotherapist, a criminal psychotherapist, decides he's gonna jump at the opportunity to work with her or help her to try and unravel why she did this, but she is not talking. So basically we're just trying to figure out why she killed her husband, and I'm excited because apparently this criminal psychotherapist will now be heading down a path more unexpected and more terrifying than he ever imagined, and that sounds really good to me. I'm really, really excited to finally read this book. Got it a few weeks ago, and I cannot wait to start it. Hopefully next month, because Christmas. Another book that I got, I believe around the same time, maybe it was a couple weeks ago at Barnes & Noble, The Haunting of Blackwood House by Darcy Coates. This one looks really good. Well, the cover, Haunted House, gets me very excited. Let's see, it says, how long could you survive? As the daughter of spiritualists, Mara's childhood was filled with seances and scam mediums. Now she's ready to start over with her fiancé, Neil, far away from the superstitions she has learned to loathe. But her past isn't willing to let her go so easily, and neither is Blackwood House. So Mara and Neil purchase the Blackwood house, and they were warned that ever since the murder of its original owner, things have changed. So strange shadows stalk the halls, doors creak open by themselves, voices whisper in the night, and watchful eyes follow her every move. But Mara is convinced she can't possibly be in danger, right? This sounds like a classic haunted house book, and I'm really excited to read it. I've also heard a lot about, I've seen Darcy coats everywhere, so I'm really excited to read this book. All right, we're getting to the end here. The next book is Holly Jackson's The Five Survive. I have heard so many people talk about this book and how good it is, so I'm so excited to dive into it. This one is about 5 friends who take a road trip in an RV, but it breaks down and apparently someone is trying to kill them, and they're trying to figure out which person the villain is trying to kill. I don't know, it sounds great. I've heard great things. I've never read anything by Holly Jackson, but I know that she has that series, maybe Good Girls Guide to Murder, which I think is also on Netflix now, or it's a series. I don't know, please, I'm definitely messing that up if those are not all the facts, but I know that I have really wanted to read her books, and this one looks really good because I'm not a big YA reader, so I wanted to read something that was not YA, but then also if this is, but then also if this is YA and I don't even know it, please let me know, but I'm really, really excited to read it. The last book that I got is Scottish Ghost Stories, and essentially this is the one I also got at the Dark Delicacies bookstore, and this one is a compilation of ghost stories. I'm really excited to read this because I don't often read ghost story compilations. I used to when I was younger, and I usually just read books like novels, and so I'm really excited to read this compilation of short stories. I hope it's really, really scary, and I cannot wait to read it. All right, so there you have it. Those are all the books that I bought in fall of 2024. It is a lot, and I feel really good about it though, because I feel like I have a good amount of books to read over the next few months. I'm really excited to dive into these. And let me know in the comments if you guys have read any of these, or if you have them on your TBR. I'm so excited to dive into them. All right, and if you like this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.